According to a study published in Frontiers in Psychology in the year 2014, human speech seems to have originated around 100,000 years ago, from where it has developed to the point we are at today. Oldest known symbols for communication are cave paintings, with the oldest known cave painting discovered in Chauvet Cave in France, dated to around 30,000 BCE. The next major development came 20,000 years later, around 10 to 12,000 years ago, when Homo sapiens started carving illustrations on different natural structures. These structures have come to be known as petroglyphs. Petro for rock and glyph meaning symbol. Although it is possible that the Homo sapiens might have used some other form of communication, like specially arranged stones, wood and earth carvings, or more expressive forms of communication, like tattoos on their body. But all of this remains purely conjecture from observing the still existing cultures of hunter-gatherers across the world, like the Chang Nagas of India and the Maoris of the New Zealand. Then came pictograms, a symbol of concept, object, activity, or an event by illustration, around 10,000 years ago. These were used by various cultures across the world and had become widely popular around 6000 to 5000 BCE. Pictograms further evolved into ideograms, or symbols representing ideas. The ideas represented were far more abstract than the simple concepts represented by pictograms. The recorded scriptures still exist from different cultures like the Native Americans, Aztecs, early Chinese, and Egyptians. This paved the way for written forms of communication, the oldest form of which are logographs, based on pictograms and ideograms. These evolved into alphabets, emerging over 4,000 years ago in ancient Egypt. Ancient Egypt used a system of hieroglyphs for written communication, which proved to be difficult to learn for the Semitic workers and slaves. Unskilled in the complex hieroglyphic system used to write the Egyptian language, which required a large number of pictograms, they selected a small number of those commonly seen in their Egyptian surroundings to describe the sounds, as opposed to the semantic values of their own Canaanite language. This gave birth to the alphabet system. Although paper was invented in the early 2nd century of the Common Era in China, people across the rest of the world were still writing on different materials like birch bark, copper plates, or palm leaves. In Hindu Malayan Empire, for example, copper plate scrolls and other perishable media were still being used to write legal documents. A lot of similar inscriptions and palm leaf manuscripts have been discovered around the world. Nowadays, we communicate with speech, text, images, and a lot more. But these have existed since long ago. Just for example, the telephone, which was invented back in 1876 by Alexander Graham Bell. This 19th century invention had revolutionized communication. It enabled people to talk to each other over long distances without having to be physically present. When radio was invented in the early 1900s, it quickly became a huge hit, being a popular means of communication and entertainment. It meant access to information in all areas, including those with limited telephone infrastructure due to the wider coverage of radio waves. The early 20th century saw added advancements as cryptographic communications came into play, when Soviets and Americans used radio waves to send messages to their soldiers and communicate during the First World War. Radio and television developments bore fruit in the 1920s. The radio station KDKA, based in Pittsburgh, began the first broadcast in 1920, while the first televised drama, The Queen's Messenger, came out in the year 1928. But 1947 was the year which brought the real breakthrough in communications. The Second World War had put a halt on the development of the television, as most, if not all, the production of television had ceased. 1947 saw the first commercial TV station begin its operations. First televised presidential address by the then US President Truman.
Britain finds itself under the necessity of reducing or liquidating its commitments in several parts of the world, including Greece.
The first Hollywood movie production for TV, and among others, a patent for a cellular device technology, which later became the foundation for the cell phone. In 1969, the landscape had changed completely with the Apollo 11 lunar mission. It had led to massive developments towards satellite communications and the GPS.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
This was also the year the Advanced Research Projects Agency launched their network, the ARPANET, to enable computers and their users to interconnect and share resources in the realm of collaboration between the US military, private technology companies, and universities. The ARPANET serves as the ancestor of the internet that we know today. The introduction of the internet had brought a fresh start. What had changed? What were the new developments? Well, that is a story for another time.